Let's see. Hey. Oh yeah, tilt it your way. Hey guys.
Just wait for it to. Is it live?
Yeah, it's live.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey.
Hi.
So this is my husband.
Hi.
He's on the short person chair today.
I'm in the little chair.
You're in the little chair. Some of you know Jonathan because we do a podcast together called Watching the Tudors. He doesn't know anything about history.
Very little.
Very little.
I knew the Egyptians happened a while ago.
God, you're such a dope.
Pyramids and stuff.
And so we do this podcast where we watch the Tudors and
I play the dummy because I'm kind of a dummy and ask her all the questions about everything. It's a lot of fun if you've ever seen the show.
Yeah. Well, it's not on YouTube. I mean, I have the episodes on YouTube, but we don't record videos. Visual. We should do that though. That would be fun. Yes, we should. We could have like the reaction, like how they do that.
Everyone can see me cry as much as.
He cried so much when Anne Boleyn died. He cried so much.
Catherine.
No, both. You cried when Anne Boleyn died too.
It's so heart-wrenching.
It's so hard. He didn't know what was going to happen because he doesn't know anything about
I still don't know the story. I mean, I know that like a lot of them die, but I still don't know like which ones and who had babies with who, or I think he got a son. I don't know.
Anyway, hi. And normally sometimes so this relates to what we're going to talk about today, which is our book sale haul. Sometimes I have my little mini co-host with me. My daughter. That's our daughter. And she is away at an event today. And so we had a day off with ourselves.
Yeah, a free day, if you will.
A date day. We've been married for almost 18 years, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But so we decided to go to the Harrisburg Book Festival in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which is a big used book or a book festival at a big it's a used book independent bookstore called Midtown Scholar.
And they have a big tent.
They have a huge
set out with tons and tons and tons and tons of
so many
cheap books.
If you're anywhere near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, I highly recommend you go to the Midtown Scholars Book Festival. But so the deal was you could buy a bag for $25 and fit as many books in it as you could fit. Mm-hmm. And they weren't picky about how much the books fell out of the side of the bag. They could fill out. So we had, do you want to show? So we were going to show you some of the books that we got. But first,
we weren't, because we haven't even mentioned the whole point why we're live right now.
Well, see, this is why I keep you around.
This is why I'm around. So let's try again. Hello and welcome to the Renaissance English History Podcast.
YouTube
My name is Jonathan. This is Heather. And we are doing a live to celebrate a milestone.
What milestone is that, Jonathan?
Someone on your screen has hit 50,000 subscribers. And it's not me. And so there are 50,000 of you people. For some reason, like listening to this one, talk about history.
Yeah, and you too. Sometimes you're on with me with our Watching the Tudors. But yeah, thank you. So thank you. Not really sure how that happened, but super grateful that it did. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I actually first started this channel back in. I mean, I think I started YouTube. So I started my podcast in 2009, and podcasts were really, really new. I was listening to Mike Duncan's History of Rome. In fact, the cover art of my Renaissance English History podcast artwork logo is very much inspired by Mike Duncan's History of Rome. If you compare the two, and so then I put up my episodes on YouTube. And I didn't do any separate videos, but it was just kind of one of these things that I had read that, YouTube is important as a search engine. And I wanted people to be able to find my podcast episodes. So I thought I'll put up a YouTube channel and have the episodes go there. And I just
maybe someone will find me there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I realized that it was actually really fun here on YouTube. Like, I'm not a big fan of social media in general. I don't really do much on my Facebook page or on any of the other platforms, but this YouTube place is super fun.
I gotta say, you guys are pretty nice people out there.
Yeah.
You people who subscribe to her.
Yeah.
All the comments aren't just
he reads the
super
comments.
Negative trash like so many YouTube videos.
Even
So-
the negative comments are clever in their negativity.
Mhm.
And I don't mind them. Like, it's
and
funny.
they're much more intelligent. You know, they're not just you're
Oh,
dumb.
yeah.
Like they're intelligent.
Oh yeah, no. Somebody one
Criticism.
time did recently make fun of a guest's voice, and I didn't like that very much. But whatever, it is what it is. So yeah, so just thank you very much. And I started the podcast because I actually wanted to learn how to podcast because it was still very new. It was 2009. I was like, I should learn how to podcast. That sounds like a fun thing to do. And I wasn't sure what to even podcast about. I was like, what should I start a podcast about? And of course, it was 2009. So it was the 500th anniversary of Henry VIII. And there was a lot going on in the Tudor
Henry
world.
VIII, what, his birth, death?
No, coming to
His-
the throne.
Oh, his coronation.
Yeah, his coronation.
He
Speaking
was
of,
coronated.
I have to no. So that's the thing. I have heard 3 people in the last month use the word coronated, and I just can't with it, you guys.
It's not a word.
It's not a word. But actually, I also have to say, I wouldn't have known that. It was drilled into me when I first went to Westminster
She
Abbey.
got told off.
I got told off when I first went to Westminster Abbey. I was 23. It was my first time in England. I was super, super excited. I was just had my backpack on. I was all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And I go up and I asked, and I was like, okay, is this where I go in to pay to go in? Now I know the ticket. If you go to Westminster Abbey, the ticket is you go for service, and you can't stop and look at everything, but it's free.
You got to pretend you're not a tourist. Oh, it's lots of fun
Oh
because
yeah.
everyone lines up in this line to pay, but then all the people who know what they're
people for
doing
service.
just walk in this
And
line.
you just have to
don't
say,
pay.
I'm here for service.
Mhm.
And you go in, but they don't let you stop and look at things along the way.
But if
because
you
you're there for
guys,
service.
if
to
you
pray,
guys are
not to-
typical Americans, they'll never let you through.
No.
They'll just
Don't
smell
say
you
that
out.
about my audience. Don't say that about my audience. Be mean to the people. Anyway, so I was all excited. I had my backpack and I was like, is this where I'm going to see where everybody got coronated? And the man, oh my goodness.
It was a man.
It was a man.
Yeah.
It was a man. And he looks down and he goes, they weren't coronated. They were crowned. They weren't marinated. They weren't vegetated. They weren't any ated. They were crowned. I was like, whoa.
He showed you
He did.
what was what.
He did. But now I know. And now when I see other people bringing it up,
You feel like you channeled the old man's rage.
Yeah, Hannah was listening to a book the other day where they talked, it was in an audio book and they used the word coronated. And I was like, some editor should have caught that. Really?
Yeah.
Some editor should have caught that. It's not a word. Anyway, so this is my stream to say thank you to all 50,000 of you who are here, who are subscribed to me. I'm really excited about this. Oh, so yeah, so I started.
Do you have any? What?
Just that I started putting up my videos and just for the podcast episodes. And then about 2 years ago, I realized it was super fun here on YouTube. And I started actually making videos of just me talking. It actually drives him nuts because he's a super perfectionist and he thinks I should have the good background.
I've offered, I really want to make the sound better and the video better.
Yeah,
and all this stuff. Make sure
really
her hair's right before she starts to
make sure the makeup's on properly, all of it.
She's not for it.
Because so I'm a big fan of the quote, don't let perfection, what is it?
Get in the way of doing stuff.
Well,
I
yeah,
don't
it's
know.
don't let the perfect compromise the done or something. It's something like that. It's some famous quote. Somebody can tell me, don't let the perfect get in the way of the complete or something like that.
Okay.
And so I just realized if I waited around for it to be perfect, to have the perfect sound, to have the perfect, you're busy, I'm busy. If we were really going to take the time to have it be absolutely perfect, we'd never do it. We'd put
That's
out
true.
one video every 6 weeks or something. It would be never done. So that's one thing. I just totally embrace the
Not perfect.
not perfectness of it, because also there's another thing. I tell this to people where we live in Amish country. The Amish are very famous for their quilts, and they always leave one square with a mistake in it, and that is to remind them that only God makes perfect things. So I'm a big fan of that too, because it's still beautiful. It's a beautiful messiness sometimes, and that's what this channel is. It's not, there's no high quality production value. We just talk about history because that's
what we're all.
that's
about
what we're all
here.
about is the
Yeah.
history, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And I still have a St. Patrick's Day and an Easter decoration back there.
It'll come back around.
It will come back around. It really, really will. So
Do you
what?
have any memorable moments during this whole journey?
So the first live interview I ever did was with David Skinner, who's a musicologist, music historian at Sydney Sussex College in Cambridge. And for a lot of people know that I got into Tudor history because of music, because of singing William Byrd's Ave Verum Corpus in high school chamber choir. And my choir director said something about William Byrd being a recusant Catholic. And I was like, what's a recusant Catholic? And like that really appealed to the inner rebel in me. So that was how I got into Tudor history, was learning about recusant Catholics. And so the first live interview I ever did, and I did it in person, I went to see him at Sydney, Sussex. And oh, he's typing. So anyway, yeah. So to start with, it was raining and I got off the train and I realized it was freezing. It was like July, but also it was super freezing and I wasn't dressed properly. And then I got all wet. I arrived at the place. My hair was all soaked. It was just a mess. But I went to his office at Sydney, Sussex in Cambridge, and we had this interview. And it was, I was so amateur about it because I didn't know what I was doing. It was the first time I'd ever interviewed anybody. And we were there in person. I didn't have a great mic set up. And, anyway, it was so funny because I wasn't completely sure that everything recorded properly. I had my software open. I was asking him the questions. Also, I totally fangirled on him the whole time. He was just like, I would ask him a question and he would give an answer. And I'd be like, oh, wow. Huh. And he'd be like, do you want to ask me something else? I'd be like, no, I just want to listen to you talk. And I was like, wait, no, I should ask you another question. So anyway, then I was there for like an hour and a half. He was very generous with his time. And then I realized, I closed my computer and I thought, crap, I hope that all recorded. Oh God, I hope that all recorded. And I wasn't going to say anything to him because I was trying to appear cool and like I knew what I was doing.
Did it record?
Well, I ran across into the square. There's a Costa Coffee there. And I ran across and I got a coffee and I was just like praying. I was like, as they were making my cappuccino, I was like, please let it have recorded. And spoiler alert, it did record. Yes.
Can we still watch the episode?
Well, it's a podcast episode that was from 2014, I think.
So
2015. Yeah, you can listen to it. David Skinner. It was my first interview.
Fawn over David Skinner.
Yeah. That was a pretty big one. And then also Alison Weir's book was cool.
You got to talk to Alison Weir?
I did. Well, so Alison, yeah, several times.
Several times. You guys are like old friends.
I wouldn't say that, but the first book on Tudor history I ever read was Alison Weir's Six Wives of Henry VIII. It was the winter of 1995. I remember it very clearly because it was January 1996. It was right after Christmas. It was on winter break from college. There was a snowstorm and I had been working at Borders Bookstore, which existed back then. It was a competitor to Barnes & Noble. And I had gotten this random book on Six Wives of Henry VIII by Alison Weir because it looked interesting. I didn't know anything about it, but I got a discount at Borders and it was right out there. And I was like, oh, I'll get this book.
Why not?
And so it was winter break from college. There was a snowstorm and I was looking at my bookshelves and I was like, oh yeah, I should read that one. And so I got it down and I was hooked. And I spent, the whole day, the whole night. That was it. I was just hooked on it. And that was 1995, something in there. Anyway, in 2016, I interviewed her for the first time and I've interviewed her several times since then. And I think when I got the email back from her saying, I wrote to her and I said, I would love to interview you. I have this podcast. Can I interview you on my show? And she wrote back and said, oh, that sounds, wonderful. And let's set it up. I think I came up and I was like, that's it. I'm done. My life is just that. I've reached peak Tudorness. There's nothing and then of course, starting TudorCon was the first TudorCon was
TudorCon's super
2019.
Cool. So for people who don't know, TudorCon is an annual live event that Heather puts on. And we have
Alison Weir, October 20th.
About 100 people in
person and then 500 online or so.
And
we just had it 3 weeks ago.
Yep. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And what else? You've done Tudor summits, online.
That was what started TudorCon because I did an online conference of Tudor people.
Yeah.
And I realized that the thing that people really loved from that was all of the friendship and community. And I'm all about bringing friendship and community to people. And so I thought we need to all get together in person, and that's what needs to happen.
And it's super fun for anyone can get. I'm not trying to sell tickets. It's super fun. Everyone gets to be together and totally nerd out on Tudor stuff and wear their gowns that they can't wear anywhere else. And I laugh because this last time, a couple of the ladies wore, dressed up, but they had to go out before. And so they're like, yeah, I just stopped in CVS and everyone was looking at me very, very oddly. And they're just fully gowned out.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It is super fun. Yeah. And you host the stream.
Yeah. I try and have a good time.
Yeah. And especially because you don't know everything. So it's always quite funny because people will be like, oh yeah, you know about Robert Dudley. And you're like, what about Robert Dudley? It's quite funny. So yeah, that was a highlight too of the past 15 years of Tudor podcasting and YouTubing and all of that. So it's been super fun. And I've just loved meeting everybody, meeting this community of it's the best community, I think. It might be the nicest community on the internet.
Good. Oh, and just Cynthia says she watched the Tudor miniseries and heard that it was not historically accurate. That is accurate.
That is accurate. That it's not.
It is not historically accurate.
That's true.
It's one of the things we learn in our
watching
the Tudors podcast together, because
plug.
Yeah. We need to finish that series.
We do, because you don't know what's going to happen.
I do not. And no one gets to hear the rest of us. But it's just fun to say, did that really happen? And she says, no. And did that guy really do that? And like, no. And he did all of those things, but over a 15-year period, not in a month. And Woolsey, like, they had him doing all sorts of time traveling that was like different, didn't they? Like,
I don't remember.
He was doing this, but that was like years before that happened. And
and they also mixed up his sister. They called Margaret the one who went to France to marry Louis XII, when in fact it was Mary who went to France. And like Margaret went to Scotland, and she just doesn't even exist in the series. Like, so they combine Mary and Margaret into one sister, and she goes to France, and there's no Mary. I guess they didn't want to confuse people because of Princess Mary. I don't know. But yeah, there was some stuff like that.
Yeah. And then Allison says, wish you could do a TudorCon in the UK. You know, it's surprising. I don't know why. Maybe it's because people are more familiar with it. Like, you're not that popular in the UK, are you?
I mean, the number one place people watch me from is the US for sure.
Yeah, in Australia a lot.
There's a lot of
percentage-wise, people don't seem like, maybe because your pronunciation is so horrible.
Yeah, people get really mad that I say Renaissance and not Renaissance, for example. The amount of comments I get about it's not.
She gets a lot of, you didn't say that right.
I do. I'm just like, I don't.
Even though you say things you don't say Leicester.
No, I don't say Leicester.
We try and do good, but.
I lived in England for years, so I do know how to say some things, but I do still say Renaissance. And I don't know. I think also just, there's a lot more in England. There's a lot, like on TV, on Channel 4, there's always documentaries. I think it's just easier to get that stuff than it is here. And yeah, that's definitely, I love your channel. Well, yay. Thank you. Thank you. So the other thing, should we talk about our books?
The other thing, what?
No, just that was what we were going to talk about.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
This is the Heather and Jonathan show.
So just to mention to the people who have joined us since we introduced ourselves, we're Heather, and as Heather,
I'm Heather.
You're on this channel. I'm Jonathan, her husband, and I'm just here to celebrate 50,000 subscribers with her.
Aww.
And we had a random date today, and we went to a used bookstore and got some books, and we thought we'd share some of them with you just for fun. And
they're
especially
not all
because
Tudor history related.
Some of them are related. They're not
are.
just like novels about science fiction.
And the deal was, so this was to get rid of.
Oh yeah, should I show them the book?
Yeah, show them the bag.
The deal was, if you can fill the bag.
If you can fill the bag for $25, so show them how you walked out of there. It was like, yeah.
So I walked out like this, and they said that fine.
Counted.
It's carried by the bag.
Yeah. So yeah, that was so that we paid $25 for all of these books, and some of them are actually, but they were used, so they're not necessarily the most latest historical scholarship.
Yeah, they're not.
But I think they're quite funny, and they're not all.
Should we do them in any order?
No, no, I don't think we should. And the ones that aren't history related, we can just skim over.
Okay.
I
got it.
Secrets of Tibetan Buddhism.
No, symbols of Tibetan Buddhism.
And I had this for Hannah when she was first born, and then I got rid of it. The Daring Book for Girls, and I really like it because it's, I don't know, it's just fun. And there was also the Dangerous Book for Boys or something. It's just a fun book with like karate moves, and here's how to tie a cool knot, how to paddle a canoe. I just thought it was fun, so I got it for Hannah. What do we got next? It's not history related.
Yeah, is this
Great Rivers of the
I don't
World?
know,
did I pick that out, or did you?
No, that was me.
Great Rivers of the World. I found out something today, that the river that's close to our house, the Susquehanna, is one of the top 5 oldest rivers in the world. I didn't know that. And so those were 340 million years old or something.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, this was a book that I had when it first came out in the 90s, The Creators, a history of history of heroes of the imagination. I got this book when it first came out in the 90s. I was in college, and you know what? I felt very intelligent with this on my shelf. I thought I was impressive when I had this on my shelf. And I think I had it when I met you too. You said you
Oh, you
remembered
did?
it.
Yeah,
I held on to that sucker.
I believe I was impressed
Were you?
because it's
It
like, ooh,
worked.
I don't know what that
Ooh.
is, but it looks like something a fancy smart person would read about.
So what's really funny is when you and I first we met online. When you and I first met, I looked you up. I Googled you.
On Craigslist.
Craigslist. Back when you could meet people. I guess you still can. I don't know.
No,
Anyway,
you can't.
we I looked you up, and one of the first things that came up was a book review you had written on Amazon on the history of Africa.
On Ethiopia.
And I thought, wow, this guy's really smart.
That paid off. It's the only book review I've ever done in my entire life. I don't know why I did it when I did it, but
he wrote an Amazon review on a book on the history of Ethiopia.
it was to get this.
I can get down
and
with that.
It was a really long review, wasn't it?
It was. Oh, it was very thorough.
I spent like 45 minutes going
sometime
through
around 2005.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is a history of the cat. It's it tells the story of such individual creators as Homer, Joyce, Giotto, Picasso, Handel, Wagner, and Virginia Woolf. Wow. The great mosaic that encompasses 3,000 years of aesthetic and intellectual invention. So I'll probably get some episode ideas from that sucker.
And she says compass, like get that thing that you spin around and the thing that tells the direction.
Okay. How is it? Okay.
I'm sure that's how you say it.
Okay. What's the city in New York? The capital of New York?
Albany. And also,
Albany.
If anyone wonders, the history of Ethiopia is amazingly interesting. So if you ever wanted to read history on a country, that's a good one. Is that history related?
Indians of North America. It's a very old book, but looks like fun.
You never know too much about the people we displaced to live here. Always positive.
What's this? I picked this. Okay, you guys. The King's England, Oxfordshire. This looks it's like an old travel guide. Look, it has these pictures in. I couldn't get over it. I was like, look at these really cool black and white pictures of Oxfordshire. And it goes through all the history. It's like, it reminds me of like Baedeker's, but what was the other one that they did, the Great British Railway Journey? Bradshaw's history of the railroad, the Bradshaw's guide that he wrote in like the 1860s, 70s when the railroads were first getting started in England. And there was that TV show, Great British Railway Journeys, where what's his name? Michael Portillo or something. Yeah, was that his name? He followed the Bradshaw's guide and went to all of these different places. And I just thought, I love that. I actually bought the Bradshaw's guide. And when we were in England, once I took some of the trips, because I was inspired by that. But anyway, I saw this and I was like, oh, this is a really old, the King's England. And I must have been, because it was the King's England. I mean, Elizabeth was 1952. So there was still a king at this point. So I had to get this. I think the King's England, a new Domesday book of 10,000 towns and villages. That is nothing like these books has ever been presented to the English people. Every place has been visited. The compilers have traveled 500,000 miles and have prepared a unique picture of our countryside as it has come down to us through the ages, a census of all that is enduring and worthy of record. And it's all about Oxfordshire. And I thought that was really cool. So yeah, I got this book. What do you got?
I think it's a novel. It's called From Saigon to Shalom.
Ooh.
And it's a missionary's voyage, the pilgrimage of a missionary in search of a more authentic mission. So who knows?
Yeah, this was first printed in 1942 for Hodder and Stoughton Limited.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, this was really cool too. The Making of Britain, the Age of Exuberance. I mean, anything that has exuberance in the title, I'm totally all about. So from 1550 to 1700, the natural exuberance of the men and women of Tudor and Stuart Britain, whether in politics, religion, architectural decoration, or literary conceit, turned easily into excess. The age is marked by growing wealth, often expressed in extravagant building schemes, by rapid changes in ideas and attitudes. Practices. I just did an episode on the history of privacy, and the idea of privacy really changed in Tudor England. And it was because of chimneys in part, and letter writing and the Reformation. But you have to listen to the episode to find out more. By rapid changes, ideas and attitudes, practices and beliefs across the whole spectrum of human activity. In particular, it was marked by an insatiable curiosity about the natural world, whether seen through telescope or microscope. So I thought this was really cool. And it was published in 1979. And And I think I might get some ideas as well from this. So that's fun.
It's one of mine.
That's one of yours. Well, you can say what it is.
A History of the Arab Peoples. So we'll see what they had to say about that in 1991.
I think it's interesting that you get all these history books. And when we first met, you asked me why anybody bothered to study history anymore.
Yeah, I know, but I don't. It's funny because the history books that I have, I don't consider history because history is boring.
There's history in it.
Oh, I get it. It's a disconnect in my mind.
It's a disconnect. All right, what else we got?
Let's see.
You picked that.
That's sort of historical. Abraham, The Journey to the Heart of Three Faiths. So it's all about Abraham. I'm sure you guys have heard of him.
Father Abraham, many sons. I remember singing that in Bible school.
Oh, and that's a book I've owned before, but we got rid of it when we moved at some point, and I wanted it again. So I saw it and got it.
Because it fit in the thing. Okay, so this is medieval English poetry, and it's the non-Chaucerian tradition. So I'm not really sure what makes this is like new to me, something being the non-Chaucerian tradition, but it has a like a inscription in it, or Mary and Edward Burkweiler, Oxford, 1974. I wonder if they're the same ones who had that book on Oxford that I just got too. If they are, Mary and Edward Bersheimer. And it was £1.50 when they first got it. And it was published, and I can't find a date in here.
Did I buy this? I didn't want that.
First published in 1957 with 3 Queen Square, London, WC1. The WC1. I used to work in WC2. WC2N 6HT. That's where I worked in Soho for a while. Anyway, medieval English poetry, the non-Chaucerian tradition.
I bought a book I did not mean to buy, Architects of Illusion, Men and Ideas in American Foreign Policy, 1941 to 1949. So I don't want this book.
Also a history book.
Yep.
Now this one I got. This is another, I wonder if this also came. I'm very curious about this Mary fellow that was from Oxford, because that other Oxfordshire book might have been there. And this is Our Beautiful Homeland. It says Canterbury. An entirely new series describing famous beauty spots in England and Scotland, it says on the back. The books have been illustrated by distinguished artists and written by well-known authorities in their particular areas. Each book contains 8 reproductions of original paintings in full color. So there's a map in the back. I went to Canterbury when I lived in London.
Ooh.
And I went to
Canterbury. I read the Canterbury Tales.
So very good.
I think.
Christchurch Gate from Mercery Lane. I don't really remember much. It was really super crowded and I didn't really enjoy it, but I did sit on the steps and outside the cathedral. I did a lot when I lived in London. I did a lot of traveling because I had a young person's rail card, which I don't know if they still exist. I'm not a young person, so it doesn't affect me anymore.
Yeah, we're almost getting the old
yeah,
folks,
yeah. I'm so close to the senior menu. That'll be so great when I go to Denny's and stuff. Anyway, so I had a young person's rail card. And what I used to do on a Saturday was I had a big map of England. I used to get up and I used to throw a dart. Or the other thing I would do is go to King's Cross and I would just see what trains were leaving and I would pick a place that sounded interesting. And I wound up in Durham that way once. And I wound up in Durham on the day that they were having a miners' parade. And I didn't realize that the miners' parade was actually like a thing. And I was in Durham Cathedral and they were having like all the parades with the people playing the bagpipes and like it was a big thing. And I was asking somebody, what's going on here? And they're like, well, it's the miners' parade. Like I was really silly for not having known. And I guess I was really silly for not having known. But anyway, Canterbury was one of those places where I went when I just showed up. I think what do the trains go from Waterloo maybe to Canterbury? I'm not Victoria. Anyway, I just showed up and I would see where looked interesting. And I went to Canterbury. I would like to go back to Canterbury.
You brought me to Bath.
I did take you to Bath. And wasn't there a person singing Bob Marley songs outside the cathedral?
Yeah, it was really cool.
It was.
And you brought me to Cambridge too.
Cambridge is my spot.
We punted on the cam.
We did. Cambridge is my spot. I go to Cambridge a lot. Anyway, there's that. So that's Canterbury.
I gotta show them this.
You gotta show them that.
I like weird stuff. I got this auras. See them in only 60 seconds with a really cool cover. I mean, you can't pass up. They have cookies. He's like eating a cookie with his coffee.
Flowers.
I mean, come on.
And you can see the aura
and on sale. Oh, and just this one too. I gotta show. This was like in the mystery books.
The blind date with a book.
Bought it, and it was like this, and it looks like a cupcake, but I think it's actually like a castle. and it kind of buzzes in my hand. So who knows what it is?
What that's going to be a surprise.
Yeah.
This is a European past. This actually looked really interesting. 1905 to 1945. It's a guy who's a historian, but he was living, he was living abroad in the 1930s as the Nazis were getting power, and he was German. And it's like letters and his memories of what was going on, what his friends were writing to him about, like whether he should come back. And he was, so anyway, I started reading it. And I was like, this looks really interesting. I'm going to read that. And it's all about like, during the first 6 months of 1933, when the Nazi takeover occurred, Mr. Gilbert was at work in the archives of Italy. Then there he received letters from relations and friends. These letters convey the impact of the rise of the Nazis on the daily lives of these people. So my dad comes from East Germany, and I've never really been into World War II history, even though, I mean, I know a little bit because my dad was born in Leipzig and comes from East Germany. So I know his story. He was born in 1941 in Leipzig. So I know a little bit about it just from him and my grandma. And he came over here in the 50s, 54, I think. Something like that. Anyway, I never really studied it. He had on his bookshelf, I remember he had that really big, famous, thick, The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, William Schreier. I don't remember. Anyway, that was one of the books when I was in 8th grade. We had silent reading period. I used to take that, and I thought I could get through it because I was a nerd, and I like, because what 8th grade person picks up The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich is like a thing for pleasure reading. Everybody else was reading like Stephen King and stuff, and I was like this giant.
I was reading Dean Koontz.
Right, Dean Koontz. Ooh. That was another one.
Oh man, I was like tearing through those books.
I was reading The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, but I didn't really digest it. Like, I don't know how a 14-year-old could digest that. So now that I think there's something that happens to people after they hit like 45 that suddenly they become interested in World War II history. I don't know. Has that happened to you yet?
No.
Well,
I was interested in World War II when I was like in elementary school.
Okay.
In elementary school. I read all those Battle of Midway and stuff.
I hadn't, but anyway, it's become a recent thing for me that I've become interested. And I've been reading books on Winston Churchill, and I read the big biography that came out on him. Well, actually, I listened to the audiobook. It was like 38 hours or something.
His Big Black Dog.
Yeah. Well, I was interested in him because of the big black dog, because I have also struggled with depression and mental health things.
That's what Churchill called his depression.
But apparently his biographer said that that's a misnomer, that there's like only one reference to it in a letter, but it's become this whole thing that he called it his depression is black dog. I haven't studied. Anyway,
I'm just going to go with that.
Yeah,
it sounds cool.
It does sound cool. And something happened after in my late 40s that I got interested in World War II history. What's that?
This is a Smithsonian Institution Bureau of American Ethnology bulletin. And it is on Menominee music, which I guess was a native tribe or something. And so they have all sorts of like a healing song from the Spirit Woman and things like that. So good times.
Is this the last one?
Yes.
Yeah. So this was the first one I found. That might be why it was in the bag last, because I put it in the bag first. All right, you guys, it was so funny because Jonathan saw this and he was like, oh, that could be stuff for your channel. And I was like, I bet it will, because I do it. Unsolved Mysteries of History. And I was like, oh man. And I thought, I wonder, I'm sure they have some of my stuff. And so I was
sure enough,
because I was like, oh, I do that kind of stuff. I talk about history's mysteries. I do that every once in a while. So I was going through and I was like, blah, blah, blah. Wait, where is it? Did Mary, Queen of Scots, murder her husband? Right there.
14.
Well, I thought, no, I mean, I know it's in here. Oh, yeah. Yep. You're right about that. Chapter 13. Did Richard III kill the princes in the Tower?
I say yes.
I say yes, too. But
I don't know.
Ricardians get mad about that.
I don't know that much.
Because they like to blame Margaret Beaufort and stuff. Who wrote Shakespeare's plays? See, there's a number of good, timely ones in here. And, was Captain Kidd a pirate? And, it is an old book, so I'm sure that
some of these
might have been. Well, it was funny because I think that's what made you read it out, and you're like, I'm sure since they printed this, they've all been solved. And I was like, well, I don't know, because there's still ones like the Princess in the Tower, and
you saw the Princess.
And then I saw, and I was like, all right, I got to get this one. Could the Titanic have been saved? Yeah, that's cool. Another thing. That's up your alley. That's also up my alley. So there we go. That was our book haul. Thanks for hanging out with us while we talk about our books.
That was
I thought we were
fun.
only going to talk for like 15 minutes, and it's gone on for half an
You
hour.
talk a lot. I didn't like a lot. I love you.
I love you too. Thank you. I do. They're with me now.
Are there any?
I'm not for everybody, but the people who can.
Does anyone
do
have
that.
any questions or comments they want to share? Now is the
Now is the time.
the audience participation.
Now's when
part
Heather
of the
stops
show.
talking for a second.
Maybe here, take a drink of
Take
water.
a drink and a breath.
Um,
We have notes on a notepad of the
Yeah.
things we want to talk about.
and
As I was looking up.
what the one thing we did want to share, Heather, is about things that are upcoming.
No, I've been really
Like things
excited
you're
about,
excited about.
this channel again. Like
You've been actually excited.
I've been actually
like
really
I
excited.
can say as someone who's sort of involved, like just she's been actually like, yay, I'm really happy with my YouTube channel lately, and
I really liked all the comments people have left, and I really liked
people are like really liking your videos these
and
days.
I had that one kind of take off the other day.
And you've been wearing hats.
I've been wearing hats.
been having a little
I
more
did the
fun.
witch hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, having a little. I think one of the things, it's kind of hard because sometimes, I guess, as I get older, I've stopped caring about what people are going to think about me that much, and I've realized that there's a quote, a book, an author quote that says, "People will either love you or they will hate you, and neither one has anything to do with you." And at the time I first read that, I thought, yeah, that's probably true. But now I'm like really taking that on, and it's like, I don't know, I'm not for everybody. I talk a lot. I'm silly. I'm goofy. I'm not a professional historian. I don't say Renaissance properly, and that's cool. And so I used to feel like pressure about that I needed to do it perfectly. Not necessarily the production, as we've discussed, but I needed to say the right things, or else and sometimes the only time I get upset about comments are when people point things out that I know myself. Like if somebody just makes fun of me for how I talk, like whatever, I can't change that. But if somebody says something like, "Oh, you got this fact wrong," and it's something that I thought maybe might not have been right, and I just overlooked it at the time, that's when I get hard on myself, and I have like really high standards of that for myself. And I don't know, I was just, I feel the pressure of like having to be correct and having to say the right things. And I've just kind of like loosened
Let
up.
that go. a little?
And I mean, I still want, like, that's hard because I still want to say the right thing. Obviously, I'm not going to start making up history, but I guess just having to say the right thing. Like sometimes I'll say something and people will say, people point something out that I missed. Like that's the thing too. Like people point out, well, you could have said it like this. And you know what? Like, you're right. I could have, but I didn't. It's my channel. I get to do it how I want, I guess.
Start your own channel.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess that's the thing. Like I've just kind of loosened up on having to do it
And making
the right way.
and I feel like it seems like you've lightened up making the 5 grumpy people happy, and
Right.
just making the other 500 people happy that aren't grumpy all the time.
I make the videos that I want to watch.
Yeah.
So that's fun. I just have fun doing it and researching it and stuff.
Did you watch Firebrand?
Oh, okay. So I actually was just talking about that in my newsletter that I was getting ready to send out yesterday. No, I have not watched Firebrand, and I will tell you why. I know it's there.
What is Firebrand?
It's the movie about Catherine Parr that's out, and
Okay.
I did.
And which one's
Catherine Parr is the 6th one.
Okay.
She's awesome.
Okay.
And I interviewed a woman called Micheline White last year on my channel. She's a professor, and she's been making the rounds in the newspapers and magazines lately because she had some thoughts on Firebrand. And there was just an article in Times about her thoughts on Firebrand and how historically inaccurate it was and whatever. And I thought I should do a Firebrand reaction or something like that video. So here's why I'm stopped with that. And I did start to watch it on a plane because it was there, and I was like, oh, I'll start to watch it. And I had a short flight, and I was like, I'll see what I think about it. And I started to watch it. You guys, Jude Law. I just can't. Jude Law.
Is he old in it?
Yes, Jude Law is the Jude Law of the holiday in my life. Jude Law is not Henry. I just can't. I can't admit that I am old enough now that Jude Law is playing Henry VIII and looking so right. It was one thing when Jonathan Rhys-Meyer was doing it because he was clearly young.
And Hugh Grant's an Oompa Loompa.
No. See, this is I can't.
I didn't do it. I didn't cast him as that.
I'm not okay with this. I'm mostly okay with aging. I'm not okay with Hugh Grant being an Oompa Loompa. And I'm not okay with Jude Law being Henry VIII and looking so right as a Henry VIII. I can't. I can't do it.
Yeah.
So at some point, I will force myself to
And we could
deal with reality.
We could do a watching Firebrand.
I mean,
together.
we could. That would mean I would have to watch Jude Law, and I mean, I'm just gonna have to watch The Holiday, then Firebrand, then The Holiday again to cleanse my palate.
Just to wash it out of your mind.
Just wash it. I can't. I just can't. I can't admit it. Hugh Grant being an Oompa Loompa. No,
Yeah.
Wrong.
I'm sorry.
It's wrong.
Time marches on.
I still dye my hair. I think I just spit when I did that.
Shh.
Anyway.
And then, so what are the things that are upcoming?
Right. Well, what are some things that are upcoming? I mean, I've got a whole bunch of ideas coming from those books.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a course coming in December that'll be fun. So stay tuned for that. I will make some announcements about that.
Mhm.
TutorCon next year. I've got some interviews.
TutorCon 2025 will happen in October
3rd through 5th.
So if anyone's interested in that,
at Agecroft
in
Hall,
Virginia.
Yeah, there you go.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I haven't planned that far ahead yet.
Okay.
But my course in December I'll be announcing some stuff about that. I'm excited about that.
Big plan.
Yeah,
cool.
Big plan about that. But I'm not going to tell you what it is yet.
Yeah.
I've got to keep things.
Bye, Allison.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Hey, Mary Stevenson. Hey. What a shot.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. I just can't. I'm just not okay with it. All right. Are we done talking? Am I done talking? Do you have anything else on that list?
No, I mean, just thanks a lot. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, you might as well subscribe to see more amazing
Heather talking
videos like this of me sitting here while she talks, and
that's our marriage,
do this
isn't it?
With my shoulders, and I mean, pretty much either that or me being.
And he's not really, right. He's not really that short. You're just sitting on a
no,
tiny
I'm in
little,
a little chair.
So
I'm usually more
like that. Yeah, you're on a stool.
I don't mind feeling emasculated, so I'm very secure,
confident enough
in my.
Yeah. Anyway,
thank you.
It's
a real joy. Like, we really appreciate you guys being a part of our lives.
Yeah.
You're all very nice, and if you're ever in the neighborhood, we'll meet up with you for coffee or something.
Yeah, and I do want to say that it is something I have talked about my relationship with my listeners and stuff, with the people who listen, with all of us. We're a community, and I just really love that, and I love that I'm part of you. And I asked recently, what do people do when they're listening to my podcast? And there's all kinds of cool stuff. People are making crafts, and people are cooking, and people are doing chores, and I just love the fact that I get to be with you when you're doing that.
Flying. What about someone who you met who comes down for flying?
Oh yeah, there was. Well, he was at TutorCon. Yeah,
I remember who it was.
He said he gets stressed out when he flies, and he was listening to me
because you calm him down.
So nice.
Yeah.
And there's
that's why I married her. Well, one of the reasons. And she cooks nice. What?
I do.
Yeah, I don't cook so well.
No, you don't.
I try.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you guys, and we always appreciate ideas.
Feedback,
if you guys have any
thoughts.
Ideas about topics you'd like to hear about, or anything like that, leave a comment. Heather reads pretty much all the comments.
You read all the comments.
Most of the comments, and so thanks for everything. Thanks
I don't always read the comments because I get thin skinned sometimes.
Triggered.
I get a little triggered. So but I do read most of them. Yeah.
And all of you who I've met in person, you guys are lovely.
Yeah, we love you guys.
And I would say feel free to make friends amongst the other YouTube people on your channel.
And I have my Tutor Learning Circle.
People.
They can hop into the Tutor Learning Circle.
What is the Tutor Learning Circle, Heather?
The Tutor Learning Circle is a social network just for tutor nerds.
Where can we find
tutorlearningscircle.com.
So you can go to tutorlearningscircle.com and sign up for free.
It's free, yeah. And it's just it's basically like Facebook.
It's like a Facebook group that she actually
No, it's not just a group. It's like a whole Facebook.
Oh, it's like a whole thing.
It's like a whole tutor Facebook. And so there's groups within that. There's people who have little meetups that are in different parts of the country.
That you don't even have anything.
No, I don't have anything to do with it.
Other tutor fans doing tutor fan stuff.
Yeah, Lisa does the book club.
You guys, if you love this channel at all, check out
the Tutor Learning Circle. tutorlearningsircle.com.
And
it's filled with tutor.
And you hear all the new news
of
any events coming up or any things, and you get to make friends and all sorts of stuff.
Yikes.
And there's alarms.
There's an ambulance. All right. Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for hanging out with us and this
We
appreciate it. We super
Yeah.
appreciate
And
it.
thanks for all the comments. And
Yeah.
everything. It was nice to
Yay.
interact with
Thank
you all.
you. All right. We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
45 minutes. Wow.
45 minutes. I talk a lot. All right. Goodbye, guys.